Hello, it is July 26th and it is 3:51 p.m. Before we get to the main talking point, which is going to be what my dad, the greedy framer, has been trying to do right now, we have to look at exactly what happened recently. So basically on July 11th, only a few days ago, Maruk and Adamji were caught fabricating false testimonies against me, and we know for a fact exactly why it was July 11th and what they were fabricating against me. So basically what ended up happening was Maruk and Adamji were tasked with the work of fabricating false testimonies against me only to try and make me look bad as possible in terms of sexual perversions and drug addiction. The reason is on July 10th at 8:48 p.m., Junaid was told by law enforcement the exact timing that he should come out in order to come in front of my car cameras so that he could advertise himself to these women out there. And Ibrahim was told the exact moment at 8:45 p.m. on July 10th to leave Mother's Girl to come in front of my car cameras at that time so he could advertise in front of these women. And then at around 7 p.m., Ibrahim, the greedy framer, the sex addicted drug addict, was found to have he was basically rejected by one of my elementary school teachers. He was running after her. He didn't know who she was. Only it was my elementary school teacher. He got her contact info from law enforcement, and he was trying to aggressively run after her. And he had gotten rejected from her at that time. So now you have all these things that were basically going on July 10th, and the fact that Ibrahim, the greedy framer, was overdosing on crystal meth once a week and ending up in the emergency room due to it. All of these things I said around July 10th, and it occurred on July 10th, and law enforcement knew that I was going to say it about their sexual perversions and drug addiction problems. So it was clear beyond a reasonable doubt that law enforcement was going to try to get Maruk and Adamji to get revenge on me on July 11th by fabricating false testimonies against me about drug addiction and sexual perversions, so that they could embarrass, humiliate, and degrade me before I could even say a single thing about that. Now, the thing that happened was on July 11th, both Adamji and Maruk from my overseas pharmacy school were caught spoon-feeding each other lies, fabrications, and fabrication materials to try to make me look like I was sexually perverted and a drug addict. Every single thing that they were saying was a lie, and they were fabricating every single thing about me in order to make me look like a drug addict and make me look like I was sexually perverted. Now, law enforcement did not give up. So law enforcement then said, we're not going to get degraded by Hassan talking about how sexually perverted we are, with Junaid coming in front of my car cameras on July 10th at 8 p.m. and Ibrahim, the greedy framer spokesperson, coming in front of my car cameras around 8:45 p.m. and me knowing about Ibrahim being a crystal meth drug addict, ending up in the emergency room once a week overdosing on those drugs. Law enforcement said, we're not going to give up on this. We're going to try to get someone else to say the exact same thing. So basically, law enforcement got my dad, the greedy framer, who to say the exact same things that Maruk and Adamji were saying about me being sexually perverted and a drug addict on July 11th. Because they were caught fabricating and lying against me, law enforcement basically got the exact same things that they were spoon-feeding each other and fabricating and lying about each other and gave it to my dad, the greedy framer, for him to now lie about me. The reason law enforcement did this was due to the fact that law enforcement realized that they had to get revenge somewhere, somehow, one way or another, and they were extremely desperate. The only two people that were there were Maruk and Adamji. Why were they the only two people there? Mainly because they hadn't been caught lying yet. Adamji and Maruk didn't ask me to marry their sister or their daughter. They didn't send me blackmail price tags of millions of dollars or millions of euros. So they were the only two people that could literally say these things about me, that I was sexually perverted or a drug addict. If the greedy framer would say it, then people would ask her, you're sending him sexually explicit pictures of two of your daughters. You're sending him these blackmails to force him to marry your daughter, two of your daughters, each and every single day. And you've also sent him blackmail price tags for millions of dollars, mainly $60 million before his brain savant would get freed. And now you're saying that he's sexually perverted and he's a drug addict. Doesn't go against your actions. doesn't go with your actions, since your actions clearly show that you want him to desperately either become your son-in-law or you're just scamming him to sign a prenup, one or the other. So they didn't get anyone else. So basically, Mahrukh and Adamji were the only two people left on July 11th to be able to fabricate the false testimony against me to get revenge for what I saw was occurring on July 10th, which was Junaid and Ibrahim trying to run after one of my elementary school teachers. Ibrahim had just gotten rejected on July 10th at around 7 p.m., and both of them were trying to come in front of my car cameras. After getting instructions from law enforcement for the exact moment they should come in front of my car cameras in order to advertise themselves for these women. So they had to get revenge, but they couldn't get it from anyone else. They got it from Mahrukh and Adamji, mainly due to the fact that they were the only ones who hadn't asked me for millions of dollars, because you don't ask sexually perverted people or drug addicts for millions of dollars, blackmail them for millions of dollars before their brain savant get freed that they're claiming does not even exist. They didn't ask me to marry their sister or their daughter, like how Ibrahim asked me to marry his sister, Farah asked me to marry her daughter. So they were the only, they could claim that they thought of me as being sexually perverted and a drug addict, and so they hadn't been caught lying yet. So, but on July 11th, obviously they were caught lying. Now, law enforcement had to get revenge because they were badly humiliated and degraded. I knew about Ibrahim being a drug addict who overdosed on crystal meth once a week and ending up at the emergency room, and I also knew about their sexual perversions and how they were running after my elementary school teacher very aggressively, and they were basically getting rejected by her around 7 p.m. on July 10th, and they were both Junaid and Ibrahim were trying to come in my car cameras on that same night, July 10th, at 8 p.m. and 8:45 p.m. in order to advertise themselves for these women for their sex schemes with law enforcement. So law enforcement had to get revenge. They had basically gotten Mahrukh and Adamji out to try to make these sexual perversion, drug addiction claims against me. So now they had to use my dad, the Greedy Framer. My dad, the Greedy Framer, is not a good choice, but that's the only one that they have because he doesn't have a daughter that he's trying to advertise himself to me. But there are other problems with him. He cannot claim that he thinks of me as being either sexually perverted or a drug addict, and I'll explain to you exactly why. My dad, the Greedy Framer, is basically a sociopath, and he's a liar. From day one, he's lied about pretty much every single thing that he's said so far, including the fact that he's not a medical doctor. He's never even given his board exams. He lied about every single thing. So he basically had begged his Framer sisters and law enforcement to make false testimony against me on November 20th. That ended up being a complete and total lie. He lied, saying that he had nothing to do with it. On December 29th, 1:27 p.m., he was caught as having had everything to do with it. He was the man begging law enforcement. He was the one begging his Framer sisters to make that false testimony against me that created mass panic and chaos throughout the entire news media and government. The reason he was doing that was obviously due to money. He thought that he knew about the monetary potential that artificial intelligence had labeled my brain savant. And he wanted to make sure my mother could not get that money and become extremely rich while he didn't even have a job, since he never got along with the people he had to work with, the actual doctors, due to which he has now quit his job, sits at home, and gets a gambling thrill from blackmailing me with millions of euros all day and night long that are continuous till this very day today. He is still blackmailing me for millions of euros all day, every day, continuously, even today. So yeah, I just stopped taking pictures due to the fact that there's so many that it's just countless all day and night long. It's no point of me taking pictures all day and night long. But yeah, he does this literally all day and night long, gets his gambling thrill while not working or doing anything at home, just sitting at home doing this all day and night long. Now, the thing about it is my dad, the Greedy Framer, cannot claim of me either being sexually perverted or a drug addict. I'll tell you exactly why. The first reason is my dad, the Greedy Framer, has been begging me all day, night long for me to go to his house. It's only started in 2025. I got the message that he knew about my brain savant, due to which I started ignoring him. He got the message pretty quickly. He started ignoring me and asking law enforcement to blackmail me. That only ended up till last year, June 28, 2025, after which time he was begging me all day, night long, calling my sister, telling her that he cries on his free time, thinking about me, this and that, blah, blah, blah. only because of the fact that he knew about my brain savant. He saw that I won my case, and he wanted some of that money for himself, since he knew that my mother would get it. He would not get a single penny. So basically, that's what he was doing after June 28, 2025, after realizing that I had won my case on that night. Now, the thing about it is just the fact that my dad, the Gary Framer, had been lying over and over again all day and night long, trying to exaggerate as much as possible. Now, the problem with it is just the fact that after June 28, 2025, I won my case, and he was seen begging me all day and night long for me to go to him, despite him making videos right before June 28, 2025, claiming that I was a really bad person. Now, let me show you some of the things that he's sending me right now to try to force me to go to him right now, okay? So this is basically July 22nd, 12:33 p.m. It's just an ad for Ireland that he had law enforcement sent to me, okay? Father-son ad, July 22nd, 1:16 p.m., okay? So basically, the reason for these ads and trying to suck up to me is due to the fact that the fifth lie has now been caught. And I know this for a fact because on July 24th, just 2 days ago, Ibrahim was basically sending me blackmail price tags due to the fact that he had been caught lying for the fifth time, and now he wanted to check to see what his chances of being able to benefit from me financially would be by blackmailing with price tags of millions of dollars before my brain savant would even get freed. Yeah. So, father-son ad, still continuing July 24th. This is July 26th, 12:54 p.m. Same thing, the Ireland ad. Okay, so the first thing I have to say is the fact that he cannot say that this is because he wants me a better environment or this and that, since my mother's environment has been nothing short of perfect. My mother's been watched 24/7 since I was only an 11-year-old child, and she has never uttered one word considered bad her entire life. Every single person that my dad, the Greedy Firmer, talked about had absolutely nothing to do with me, and it was nothing compared to what my dad, the Greedy Framer, was caught doing in the year 2011. So basically, in the year 2011, my dad, the Greedy Framer, was caught by law enforcement themselves. So I've only met him about three times in my entire life. One of those 3 times was in the year 2011. In his house, he was basically calling people over to his house, giving them sermons, about 50 people every single day, till it raised alarms, mainly due to the fact that the law enforcement witnessed themselves that my dad, the Greedy Firmer, was encouraging people to go join terror groups, commit mass murder of innocent human beings. Law enforcement immediately put in a government informant in there, and they clearly looked like they were not in the they didn't want to start an investigation, since out of the 50 people in his sermons every single night, there was only one person who was disagreeing with him, and that one person was, in fact, a government informant. So basically, yes, this is what was going on. Basically, a circus every single night where my dad, the Greedy Firmer, would call people over to his house every single night to give them sermons about the need to join terror groups and commit mass murder of innocent human beings every single night. Till one night, till the government was law enforcement was forced to put in a government informant, and the government informant basically would disagree with him. Out of all the people in the sermons, there would only be one person disagreeing with him, trying to twist his words, change his words as much as possible, and my dad, the Greedy Firmer, would not listen. So due to which the law enforcement basically had the option of basically either tipping him off or starting an investigation, since law enforcement tipped everyone off, including us from the wedding incident, people they're running money fraud with till 2 months ago, sex schemes they're running with Uncle Joey's in-laws. Law enforcement, obviously, they tipped off my dad, the Greedy Firmer, in the year 2011, where they went to my dad, the Greedy Firmer, and basically told him that they knew what he was saying and they wanted him to basically stop. They either did it themselves or they had one of his Framer's sisters tell him to stop. But in either case, overnight, the circus went away. The circus animals were gone. The circus tents were gone. All the circus noise was all gone. That's how I knew that either he had a change of heart overnight or he was basically tipped off. Obviously, I'm not stupid. The same law enforcement that tipped everyone off till now, aside from the winning crime, the people who they're running their money fraud with till 2 months ago, Uncle Joey's in-laws. Everyone was tipped off by law enforcement. So obviously law enforcement tipped off my dad, the greedy framer, in 2011 as well, due to which the circus went away overnight. So that has to be compared with anything anyone could have said around me when I was a child being adult supervised. Absolutely incomparable, since no one knows how many people my dad, the greedy framer, has sent to terror groups, how many people have been mass murdered, what the casualty that this psycho carries on him, compared to anything that anyone could have said around me as a child, being absolutely incomparable to it. The government and the courts can look at the details from the government informant, even if the government informant denies this, to try to make an excuse for why they didn't start an investigation. Simple question has to be asked: why were you there in the first place? To the government informant, just ask them, why were you there in the first place if there was nothing to be investigated? And what was the conversation like when you were hearing the sermons? And if the conversation was with you disagreeing, then there must have been something you were disagreeing on. You don't just get put into a sermon for no reason. You don't just get put there with the instructions of trying to stop this or trying to encourage him to stop this. You don't just disagree for no reason when you're one of the only 50 people in that sermon disagreeing. So yeah, very basic questions. Common sense will dictate that my dad, the greedy framer, was basically encouraging people to join terror groups in the year 2011. He was doing this every single night. He was doing it by calling people over to his house and giving them sermons, and 50 people every single night. And that in the end, the government informant tried to stop him, twisting his words, as he likes to say. The government informant was not able to twist his words, since my dad, the greedy framer, would literally stop him and be like, no, you don't have this right. I do. Let me speak. And then he would speak, and then he would basically say what he was saying before the government informant was trying to twist his words. There are no excuses for this. He can't claim that he was giving a sermon on the jihad against a person's desires or anything like that, of that sort of nature, since it was clearly meant to encourage people to join terror groups. The government informant understood that, and the government informant was trying to stop him from saying this, trying to twist his words to try to make it seem different from what he was saying. And my dad, the greedy framer, would not take it. He would tell people to go and join terror groups in the world, very clearly, specifically. And the most dangerous and scary part about these sermons is the fact that there would be about 50 people in each one of these sermons, and not one person would disagree, clearly showing from facts and evidences that a lot of these people could have been going back and forth from terror groups, and that nothing over here is exaggerated, since you do not go and tip someone off when you're not supposed to even be visible. You're not supposed to be watching people. You're not supposed to be doing any of these things. Not that they're not supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be doing it, but if they show people that they're watching over people or doing anything of that sort of nature, people get annoyed, irritated. But the only time you would go and literally tell people that we were watching you, you need to stop this, is when it is very dangerous, very clear and significantly crucial, and you know for a fact that the other person will not and cannot disagree, because that person is as guilty as it gets, and he will not utter one word of protest against you. And that's exactly why law enforcement went and tipped him off. They knew that not only would he not protest against being washed, he would not tell anyone that he was washed either, due to him being as guilty as it gets. And I know this for a fact due to the fact that in 2011, the circus was there at his house every single night, and not one person was disagreeing against him every single night, which makes his sermons extremely dangerous, except for that one night when the government informant literally had to step in and try to disagree against him until that circus was completely closed off overnight. Either he had a change of heart or he was tipped off. We all know what happened. Okay, and if you don't believe me, you could check back in the facts and evidences. You will definitely find the government informant. And if the government informant tries to make up excuses for why they didn't start an investigation, very simple questions have to be asked the government informant. If there was nothing there, then one, why were you there in the first place? There must have been some alarms that were set off. That's why you were there in the first place. Second question is, if there was nothing to be disagreed on, why were you continuously disagreeing on his sermons in front of all those 50 people? You seem really desperate to change his twisting his words, as he himself likes to say. Okay, third question to be asked is, if he wasn't tipped off, which the facts and evidences will clearly show that he was, then why did the circus disappear overnight? And if he had to be tipped off, despite the law enforcement knowing that they're supposed to remain invisible and not let people know that they're even there, then they must have been really sure that this person would not be protest against being washed at all. And the only reason they were so sure that he would not protest against being watched is because he would know that he was as guilty as it gets. That's exactly what happened. And he would also know that he would not be able to tell other people in the community that I was being watched, due to the fear that, and knowing the fact that he was as guilty as it gets, and they had every right to be watching him in the first place. So basically, if my dad, the Greedy Framer, claims that he wanted to give me a new environment, that is absolutely BS. Since my mother's been watched for the past 25 years, she has never uttered one word considered bad my entire life. Not one time for more than 25 years since I was an 11-year-old child, her being watched. In fact, she raised me in such a way that I loved everyone of every race, religion, and ethnicity, and to the point that I had a brain scanner attached to my brain for years before July 1st, 2023, clearly showing from facts and evidences that I love every single person, whether they were Christians, they were Jewish people with long beards, or anything of that sort of nature. I loved them, every single one of them. Gave them, every single one, equal amount of love and respect. And my mother, reaction in when speaking of people of basically other religion joining our family, and me asking her at like a mall or something that I'm gonna marry a Jewish girl, like her reaction was always so nice that I always thought, man, if only I asked this question at home. She was always like this for the past more than 25 years. The wife thing is really, really recent, but for the more than 25 years, law enforcement will second the fact and the statement that my mother has never uttered one word considered bad or racist her entire life since I was being watched, since I was an 11-year-old child. And that despite me, and I've never even remotely been in a setting where anything remotely considered bad has been said around me since I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, her promise being fulfilled from the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. And also the new theory that law enforcement has that I was tipped off, due to which I was no longer present, is completely BS, considering the fact that my mother had already made that promise when I was an 11-year-old child to law enforcement, letting them know that it was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother, and it would no longer occur after I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. The other fact that we know is this makes this BS the fact that I was tipped off is due to the fact that every single person that has been tipped off by law enforcement and not me. So if I was tipped off, then I'd be tipping people off. And you know how guilty conscience are from the year 2011 with my dad, the Greedy Framer. The entire circus disappeared overnight. So yeah, if I was tipped off, I'd tip other people off. But looking at how aggressively these sex schemes since 2001 with Uncle Joey's in-laws were run, to the point that they gave Uncle Joey the protocol in 2023 in November at the funeral that would make a sitting governor envious, and that their money fraud had to be forced to be shut down only 2 months ago, clearly shows that law enforcement was the one tipping people off and not me. So yeah, my mother's environment for more than 25 years is incomparable to the one that my dad, the Greedy Framer, has. And if you look at what he was doing in the year 2011, yeah, it clearly shows that the man, it would be considered deranged if he even tried to compare his environment to that of my mother, since I've only met him about 3 times my entire life, and one of those times was in 2011. We know exactly what happened there. Compared to my mother's environment for more than 25 years, my mother being watched since I was an 11-year-old child, not one incident, not one of anything remotely considered bad being said around me ever throughout my entire life. The other thing that we have to look at is just the fact that my dad, the Greedy Framer, speaking of sexual perversions. So basically on March 12th, 2026, my dad, the Greedy Framer, at 11:36 a.m. had asked law enforcement to ask me if I was willing to sleep with this ugly, disgusting old wife in order to fulfill his sexual perversions. You might be thinking, well, son, he was sending you blackmail price tags. Maybe that had to do with money. No. You can't pay, you cannot, you can't get paid enough to do this. You literally cannot get paid enough to do this. What he was asking to have done on March 12th, 2026 at 11:36 a.m. that he asked law enforcement for me to fulfill her sexual perversions by sleeping with his ugly, disgusting old wife. You cannot pay someone enough to do this. It's just not possible, okay? This woman is the ugliest woman, probably one of the most ugliest, disgusting old woman I've ever met in my entire life. And it's a good thing she covers up her entire face, because, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So basically, that's all I had to say about that. Except for that, I also had to say the thing about him trying to claim that I'm a drug addict or this or that. You have to take into consideration the fact that, first of all, no one begs a drug addict to go to their house. Second of all, if someone jokes around about doing drugs once in their lifetime, everyone does that once in a lifetime. You find one text message about me joking around about doing drugs with someone once in my lifetime, doesn't make me a drug addict. Drug addicts do these things over and over again every single day. How many times have I bought street drugs in my entire life? Zero. I have never gone and purchased street drugs my entire life ever. For the past 10 years of my life, I've never even taken a controlled substance. I haven't even had Robitussin. Which is considered a Schedule 5 substance. I haven't even had that. It contains like slight bit of alcohol in it. I haven't even had that. So in the past 10 years of my life. So basically, yeah. There's no record of me buying street drugs ever in my life, for one. Two, I haven't had a controlled substance in the past 10 years of my life. When I did have prescription medication, it was only due to hyperactivity disorder, not attention deficit, just hyperactivity disorder that I had. And we know this for a fact due to the fact that I have so huge amounts of energy. In 2018, I used to work at CVS, like 12-hour shift, and I wouldn't take even a 15-minute break. And at the end of my shift, I would run literally through registers, and I still would have energy left over in my body afterwards. Yeah, that's how much energy I have. Yeah, and the other thing is, if I was a drug addict, I wouldn't be the one after I aged out of the hyperactivity medication that I used to take. I wouldn't be the one telling my doctor that I have aged out of this medication. Its addiction potential is pretty high, and that it causes a huge amount of dependency, and that I should not be given this medication ever in my entire life due to its addiction potential being high, dependency being high. And I would not have had my doctor put in his computer that I should never get this medication from any doctor in this country ever again if I had this 1% chance or willpower of being a drug addict. Using prescription medication, since I've never bought street drugs ever, not even once in my life, never gone out there and bought street drugs, not even once in my life. So even when we're speaking of prescription medications, if I was a drug addict or had any dependency, then I would not go and tell my doctor myself that to never prescribe me that medication ever again, since it causes dependency and has high addiction potential, and due to which I can never get that medication prescribed ever in my life due to me telling my doctor that and having that put into his computer system. Except for that, I have also no record, not once, not one time of ever overdosing on any medication, whether it was prescription, non-prescription, anything of that sort of nature, ending up in the emergency room for for anything at all whatsoever. And if you compare that with a drug addict, like Ibrahim the Greedy Framer, he ends up in the emergency room at least once a week for overdosing. How many times have I, in my entire life, of even prescription medications? Absolutely zero. So this thing is basically nonsensical. The other thing is you do not send drug addicts price tag blackmails like how my dad has been sending me all day, night long. Now, the thing about it is he sent me numerous ones between July 9th and July 10th, only because the June 24th brain savant test was overanalyzed. Let me just tell you a few. So the first one was $11.5 million, and it had his nickname Mona written on it so that he could have the brain scanner, which the government had to use billions of dollars to make for his personal greed of trying to figure out if he has any chances of getting money out of me or not. So $11.5 million with his nickname Mona written on it on July 9th at 10:36 p.m. July 9, 2026, obviously this month. Then you have 6.2 million euros July 9th at 10:36 p.m. Then 2 million euros July 10th, 1:08 a.m. 2 million euros July 10th, 6:20 a.m. Then a price tag for blackmail price tag for a mansion July 10th, 6:23 a.m. 10.7 million euros July 10th at 6:29 a.m. 3 million euros July 10th, 6:30 a.m. 1.25 million euros July 10th at 9:40 a.m. and 300,000 euros July 10th, 9:43 a.m. 75 million euros July 10th, 9:53 a.m. 6.25 million euros July 10th, 9:58 a.m. 6.25 million euros July 10th at 10:06 a.m. 75 million euros July 10th at 10:07 a.m. 75 million euros July 10th at 10:13 a.m. 1.25 million euros July 10th at 10:31 a.m. 8.5 million euros July 10th at 11:01 a.m. And then a very cheesy, corny video of a man saying, "I heard you struck my son," July 10th at 11:35 p.m. to try to gain some sympathy from me. Basically, my point being that people don't suck up to drug addicts, people that they think could have even the real chance of becoming a drug addict. They don't suck up to them. They don't send them blackmail price tags. They don't send them father-son videos and ads all day and night long. Basically, yeah, they do not beg them to go to their house, okay, all day, night long with the Ireland ads. All right, they're not sending them these father-son ads all day, night long to try to beg them to go to their house. Their spokesperson is not sending me blackmail price tags for millions of dollars coming to me the moment that he's caught lying against me, okay? None of these father-son ads to try to suck up to me and gain favor with me would be occurring or begging me all day, night long, like just today, July 26th, to go to Ireland or doing anything of that sort of nature. Not something you would do with a drug addict. You wouldn't blackmail a drug addict for price tags of money. As far as the sexual perversions are concerned, that I know for a fact he's going to be asked by law enforcement to say about me, his sexual perversions seen on March 12, 2026, with the exact time of 11:36 a.m., which much worse, of begging me to sleep with his ugly old wife, which we know for a fact has nothing to do with money or trying to get money out of me, since anyone who knows or has seen his wife knows that you cannot pay someone enough to do this, okay? So drug addiction, his behavior doesn't show that I have any potential of being a drug addict or that he even thinks that. You have to understand the fact that drug addiction is basically has behavior patterns that have to do with basically an obsession with sex or money, like how my dad, the Greedy Framer, is asking me on March 12th, 2026 at 11:36 a.m. to sleep with his wife to fulfill his disgusting sexual perversion that this man without any shame asked me on March 12th at 11:36 a.m. Not something you would ask someone. Very disgusting individual. really. And if my dad, the greedy framer, does not think that our artificial intelligence is correct about labeling my brain savant as being the most rare and profitable in the world, then why did he suddenly start begging me with these blackmail price tags starting July 9th, all day, every day, every single day long, all day long? Why did he do that? It doesn't make any sense. And if he doesn't know about its potential or anything of that sort, then why doesn't he ask his sister Farah? Since his sister Farah, the greedy framer, is basically been sending me these Ponzi scheme requests for me to marry her abnormal looking daughter Zara all day and night long. Yeah, she has basically sent me at least, I would say at least about 40 or so, or maybe even more than that, of these requests for me to basically sign a prenup agreement to marry her abnormal looking daughter Zara or her ugly looking divorced daughter Ifra, which I have no intention on doing so. I do not want to marry either one of them, and she has been sending them to me nonstop all day, every day, all day long, basically. How many times has she sent me? Numerous times, okay? It's just countless amount of times that she has absolutely sent it to me. I could show it to you. Give me 1 second. So, yeah, she sent it to me. So since June 16th, 2026, last month, she sent me at least 62 requests for me to marry her abnormal looking weirdo daughter named Zara. 61 are confirmed forced marriage requests, since I told her on the first time that I was not interested in marrying her. 47 are confirmed prenup, marriage scamming blackmails. 47 prenup marriage scamming blackmail since just July 6th, this month, 20 days ago. She has sent me 47 prenup marriage scamming blackmails. So if my dad, the greedy framer, thinks of me as being a drug addict or someone whose brain savant potential isn't correct by what artificial intelligence has labeled it, then his actions speak otherwise, since he sent me numerous blackmail price tags all day, night long, and he's begging me to go to him, talk to him. There's no change of environment needed. His environment is terrible. We found that out in 2011, incomparable to what my mother has been a witness, has been doing since I was an 11-year-old child. Not one instance of her ever even uttering anything bad her entire life, with a brain scanner attached to my brain for years before July 1st, 2023, showing from facts and evidences that I've met everyone of every race, religion, ethnicity, whether there was Orthodox Jewish people with long beards, Christians with the same level of love and respect that my mother taught me with, that law enforcement is a witness to the fact that my mother taught me this since I was an 11-year-old child, since all she's ever said about other people of other religions are the nicest things. And if my dad, the greedy framer, he's not sending me these blackmail price tags to suck up to me only due to the fact that he knows that I'm no drug addict, since drug addicts don't just joke around about doing drugs once in their lifetime, they do it multiple times in their life, okay? And if he hasn't been sending me blackmail price tags all day, night long recently due to not thinking that of me as being a drug addict, and hasn't been sending me all these ads for me to go to him and talk to him with these father-son cheesy, corny ads all day and night long, because he doesn't think of me as being a drug addict from his behavior. He thinks of me as having an extremely rare and profitable brain savant that he's extremely greedy over, just like how he was extremely envious over. He's made 5 false testimonies against me, with the 5th one just recently, Ibrahim, the greedy framer, getting caught with due to him, Ibrahim sending me a blackmail price tag for $22.5 million the moment he was kicked out. So basically, if he hasn't been sending me these blackmail price tags because he doesn't think of me being a drug addict, and he hasn't been sending me these cheesy father-son ads and these ads begging me to go to him in Ireland due to him not thinking of me as being a drug addict and not thinking of me as having any sexual perversions like how he wants to claim for law enforcement right now, then maybe he should ask his sister Farah, because Farah, since July 6, 2026, when her blackmail price tags or request for me to marry her daughter has been labeled nothing short of a Ponzi scheme, where she's trying to force me to sign a prenup agreement to force me to give her illegal assurance of money after I would run away from her abnormal looking weirdo daughters. Maybe she should be asked why she's sending it to me, since no one sent this to a drug addict. People usually send this to a person that they really think it has a really high chance of becoming extremely rich, especially when they're wearing a scarf and dressing up like a nun, like how Farrah the Greedy Framer does all day, night long. She dresses up like a nun all day, night long, and yet she's ruining her chances of being able to narrate in the trial against me when she's already been caught lying numerous times. Okay, not just November 20th, where she was kicked out of the spokesperson stand as soon as government informant was announced, but that numerous times even afterwards. But that this woman who dresses up like a nun is advertising her daughters to me, and let me show you exactly how she's advertising her daughters to me. Incredibly disgusting, really, really weird, very perverted way. Yeah, a very perverted way. Just if you just look at how the girl in the gray is supposed to be, I guess, Ifra, and then her daughter Zara. Girl in the gray, look at her top, and the girl in the blue, look at her bottom. This is how Farrah the Greedy Framer has been advertising her daughters to me, while she knows that she's dressed up like a nun. She's been caught lying numerous times in this trial against me, and this is how she's been trying to advertise her daughters to me, to try to force me to sign this forced blackmail prenup agreement at least 47 times since July 6th, with her sending it to me at least 3 times today. And this is the kind of advertisement she's sending for her own daughters. Look at the girl in the gray. Look at her top. Look at the girl in the blue. Look at her bottom. This is how she's been advertising her daughters to me. And it's no doubt that Farrah the Greedy Framer is an expert exaggerator and fabricator, considering the fact that right now Farrah the Greedy Framer is referring to law enforcement as being patriotic and good men. The same law enforcement that she claimed in 2019 as being a nuisance to society, wanting to rape and murder women, and that she claimed to the Indian government that these people, this same exact law enforcement team, with the person whom this team sends the money fraud money to every single month, that just stopped 2 months ago. This same law enforcement team, Farrah the Greedy Framer, alleged in the year 2019 that this law enforcement team is a nuisance to society, only made to rape and murder a woman around the world, and that she was a victim to this despite the facts and evidence is now showing that she is an expert exaggerator and fabricator, to the point that Indian government was forced to go and lecture Joe Biden at that time based on Farrah's exaggerated, fabricated, false testimony in 2019, only for us to find out that the person she was alleging this against, the same person from this very team who gets the money every single month, told about 2 months ago, she was sleeping with that person before she alleged this. Every single week, she was sleeping with this person, and then suddenly she wakes up one day and finds out that this person doesn't have any money, and all the money he had was defrauded and stolen, due to which she alleged rape and murder against him in order to get revenge for being scammed into sleeping with someone whom she thought was really rich, and in reality was not so. And that's exactly why we know that he has to be the person getting all the defrauded money, obviously. So Farrah the Greedy Framer has proven herself to be expert exaggerator, expert fabricator, and now she is basically helping me prove my point, that by claiming that the same people that Farrah the Greedy Framer alleged were dangerous to society because they were raping and murdering women, now she's saying that these are patriotic and good men, clearly showing from facts and evidences that that entire scathing police report made against that person from this very law enforcement team was incredibly exaggerated, fabricated, to the point that the Indian government was forced to go and lecture the U.S. government in 2019, only for us to find out now that all of it was made up, and Farrah the Greedy Framer was fabricating only to get revenge from someone that she was sleeping with previously, due to finding out that he was not as rich as he claimed, and she was basically scammed into sleeping with a poor person, due to which she fabricated that false testimony. We know for a fact it was fully exaggerated, since Farrah the Greedy Framer is claiming right now that these people are incredibly patriotic and good men. So whether they are or not is irrelevant. What this really proves beyond a reasonable doubt is that there was no one ever raping and murdering her, and that she is an expert exaggerator and fabricator of false testimonies, to the point that the Indian government was forced to go and lecture the U.S. government and Joe Biden on human rights abuses, all based on Farrah's scathing police report from 2019, clearly showing from facts and evidences that she was sleeping with that person before she made that police report, and that she only made it because she found out that he was poor and not rich like how he claimed, and she was scammed into sleeping with a poor person. And now it proves even more with her saying that these people are patriotic and good men. Whether they are or not is a different story, but what we know for a fact is there was definitely not anyone raping and murdering her if they are known as patriotic and good men right now. Since if they were, and the police report from 2019 was as true as the scathing police report was, the forcing one government to go lecture Joe Biden on human rights crimes, then right now she would not be calling them, as this entire law enforcement team, as being patriotic and good men, clearly showing from facts and evidences that Farrah the Greedy Framer is an expert exaggerator and fabricator, to the point that she could make a scathing police report and force the Indian government to go lecture Joe Biden on human rights, only for us to find out now that she's referring to that same exact law enforcement team that sends that money to that same person every single month till about 2 months ago as being good and patriotic men, proving my point that she is an expert exaggerator, fabricator, and she is a liar. It didn't require Joe Biden to be lectured on human rights in 2019. That much we know for a fact, clearly proving that Farrah the Greedy Framer is an expert exaggerator and an expert fabricator and liar for false testimonies.